Hi there, Stampers. It's Linda Schmidt with Stampin' with the Houndz. Welcome and thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be doing a couple of different techniques, and this is starting to get pretty popular. It is called the fault line technique, and then I'm also going to show you how to take any of our glimmer papers, and I just sanded it when I ran it through the embossing powder. And then the other technique I was going to show you is how to use your embossing paste that I'm sure many of you have in your stash and really haven't used it in a while. Look, mine's the old label. It tells you how old mine is. But I'm going to be using the shimmery white. You can also do the normal white and add your ink refills to color it. And I would say when you do that, because when I did it on this one, so this is our new cardstock. It is called, we've got 5 new in colors coming out. Beginning May 6th, and the cloud cover is what this cardstock is here. So it's kind of like a really pretty kind of slate blue. I don't know, it's really pretty. But when I added the white embossing paste to it and ran it through the folder, and as it dried, it became almost, it has like a little bit of a pink, I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of like a little bit of a lavender kind of pink cast to it. I mean, it turned out pretty, but I was like, it wasn't what I was expecting. So, especially with that white, and because I had the ink refill in there, I had done Misty Moonlight, and I just did 1 drop of it. So, you know, that ink must have a little bit of a pink or purple, you know, undertone or something in it. But yes, it's kind of interesting how it just changed that color completely from it. So anyway, just kind of play around with that when you're adding the ink refills to the embossing paste. But these are the 5 new in colors. So again, this was the cloud cover. Now this one, they are having some issues with the ink pad. So only the cardstock, the Stampin' Right markers, and I think that might be it, will be available May 6th when the new catalog launches. The other new in color is the Secret Sea, which this is like my new go-to neutral color. It's darker than Night and Navy, and it's like a perfect sky color. It's a great neutral color. Actually, both of these cloud cover, these are great neutral colors to have in your inventory. And then the other 3 are Darling Duckling, and this one, it's got a little bit, when I look at it now, I see more kind of like a little bit of a greenish cast to it. So it's not like, you know, compared to Daffodil Delight. I mean, I'm trying to get my light better here. This has a little bit more green to it to me compared to the Daffodil Delight. So that's another in one. And then this is a great new orange color. This is called Timid Tiger. This one is, I really like. I can't wait to use this color. It's a great orange. And then returning in color, Strawberry Slush is coming back. And this is like a nice, good, muted. It's kind of more of like a rosy color. It's not as bright as Melon Mambo. And what were some of our other pinks we had? Melon Mambo. Yeah, because like Berry Burst is more purple and stuff. But this is another nice kind of pink color to have. So if you still have the Strawberry Slush, it is returning. So, but those will be coming out May 6th. So lots of fun. I always like the new colors. So anyway, so I kind of was going to show you different ways to do this fault line technique. And basically you're just taking some paper and you're tearing it, you know, kind of like at an angle. And then you're roll it up, you know, distress it and stuff. So it kind of really gives a really fun, rustic look to your cards and stuff. So we're going to be doing this one today, but I was going to show you some of my other samples. Actually, I've got 2 of them that we'll be doing today. So, but this is the one where we're doing the embossing paste with our folder. So that's kind of a fun new technique. And then that's the inside using some of the new dies. So this is going to be, again, May 6th. We've got our online exclusive items as well as the annual catalog launching. So Sunrise Sailing is one of the online exclusives that you'll be able to purchase beginning May 6th. So it's got a great die set. It also has the hybrid embossing folder, so you can get all 3 of these things in a bundle with it. And so this is going to emboss, and also it'll die cut out that sailboat for you with it. So it's another one, what we call those hybrids. So I'll be showing you how to use that today. So these, and then this one, let me show you my other. So this is the other one we're going to do today. So again, this is kind of using that ombre paper, which is an online exclusive that you can get now. And then some of our Country Woods paper that is carrying over into the catalog. So this is like one of my favorite paper packs for designer series paper on it. And again, this is using that new Sunrise Sailing on it. And another new online exclusive, and I just got this one because we were able to pre-order as a demonstrator. So I haven't done a whole lot of samples yet because I just got it this week. So this is Scenic Adventures. And you know me, I love my mountains and pine trees. And how many mountains and pine trees can you have? For me, not enough. I buy them all. And I keep them all. I don't ever get rid of them. So this one, you know, you can just get the die set or the stamp set. And you don't need the dies, or vice versa, because it doesn't die cut any of these images out. So it creates its own scenery, the die. So this is a die set that if you just wanted to get dies for mountains and pine trees, you could just get this one, which is kind of fun. But of course I got both of them because, you know, it's got mountains and pine trees, and and it had some good sayings in it too. So you'll be seeing some upcoming samples of me using that set. But this was one where I did 2 layers, or actually 3 layers of tearing to get that kind of, you know, sky, kind of woodsy, northern Minnesota look to it and stuff. And then here's those mountain dies made into your scenery. So I did the pine trees, and then these are the 2 different mountain dies that are in there. So kind of fun, but it is a cool technique. And this is using our 2-tone cardstock, which if you haven't purchased this yet, I would highly recommend it. It's not as heavy as our normal cardstock, but it's a little bit thicker than, you know, our designer series paper. So it's great for like scrapbooking. I use it a lot for doing my inside of my cards when I want to do a colored cardstock, because it's lighter, so it doesn't make my card so heavy. And then one side is dark, and then the other side, or sorry, this is the lighter side, and then the other side is going to be a little bit darker. So this is kind of the garden green, the pool party, and then one side's a little bit darker on it, which is kind of nice. So, and these come in, you can now buy in the new catalog, you can buy some in colored packs, and then there's also assortment packs and stuff. So that's what I used on this one. So it doesn't give it so much bulk to it and stuff. So, and then this is that 2-tone cardstock inside. That's the crumb cake. So it's just it's a little bit lighter, because I did the lighter side of it. So it's kind of a nice way to do that. All right, and then some other ones using that I had made, because I've been doing this technique for quite a while. I just finally get around to doing the video. This is a retiring upcoming rustic crate stamp set and die. So if you don't have that, this would be a good one to get, because it's going to be going away. So that was one. And this one I did it as the landscape versus the portrait style. So you can, 2 options of doing that, of this technique, which is kind of fun. And then here's another one using some of our textured notes. This is another online exclusive item. So this one I flipped, when I tore the paper, I flipped it. And so this is the underside of that pattern. So you can do it that way too. You can flip how you're doing your, basically your layering, whether you want them both going the same way, or you can flip it to make it look more like what I say, like a Pac-Man. Coming across, I don't know. So that's the one using textured notes in the portrait. And this is one, this is a Tim Holtz flamingo thing, but I had made several of these, and I had them sitting around. I'm like, I got to make a card with it. So, and I was also playing around. This is one where I did this is our, some of our glimmer paper, and then I just took a sanding block to sand it. I don't know if you can kind of see it there, but it just kind of then, the raised edges kind of look white. So that's kind of fun. Again, this thing took me like a half hour to assemble this flamingo. So whoever gets this card, they better like it, because it took a long time to make. And then here's some other ones using some of the stuff that's designer series paper. And these I did a while ago, but this one I've got, the center part is the embossed cardstock, and then this one has like your designer series paper. So you can do a combination of whether that center part is cardstock, whether it's designer series paper, you know, whatever you want, glimmer paper, any specialty paper on it is kind of, and then just different ways of how you're doing the direction of your diagonal tear lines and stuff. So super fun, lots of possibilities. But we are going to get started. I'm going to first show you the embossing paste part first, because that does take a few minutes to dry. So I want to get that part done, and then I'll set it aside to dry, and then I'll show you how to basically do the tearing and everything. So I will say for the, so for the portrait, let's see, where's my landscape one, just so you can kind of see the portrait cutting measurements. And there's different ways people have been doing this technique. The ones that I had seen where they were actually, I'm just going to look at my pieces here. I don't know what that one's for. Okay, sorry, I've just been, oh my gosh, I worked like super long the other night, and I'm still recovering from my lack of sleep. Okay, so for the portrait one, I'm using just my standard A2 cardstock. This is just 4 1/4 by 11, folded in half, 5 1/2. So this is what I'm calling the portrait. Now, some of the other people, they were actually cutting this part off and attaching, using that as the tearing piece. But I'm keeping my card base same, as is. And then inside, this is just your standard 4 1/4 by 4. That just goes on the inside. What I'm doing is I'm going to have this now is this piece. And then my tearing pieces here, I take 2 pieces. They're cut exactly the same. And this is where you can do a combination of, it can be both pattern paper, it can be both cardstocks, it can be a combination of them. It can use that 2-tone cardstock, which I use a lot. That's what I did on this one, because it's a little bit lighter weight. But this one is the cloud cover cardstock, and then I'm doing the Country Lace Designer Series paper. So both of these pieces are 2 3/4 by 4. My center piece that I'm just using for here, this is, oh, and obviously I need to put a new blade on my paper cutter. That's a, is this 4 by 4? Yes, this is 4 by 4. So then I'm going to take my torn pieces and go here so that my card isn't flimsy with it. That's why I kind of wanted to keep my card base as is and not cutting this part off to use as my tearing pieces. So that's it for the portrait. And then to do the landscape version, so now our card is going to be folded this way. So it's just the 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 is our card base. Your center part here, that is going to be 5 1/4 by 3. And then your 2 pieces that you're tearing together, those are 5 1/4 by 2 3/4. So I kind of kept, they're a little similar. This one I kept more as a square, but this one, because you can't really do a square because it's the landscape, that's why this dimension is a little bit different. But really, I'm still keeping that 2 3/4 height for the tearing pieces on it. So those are the measurements for that. But we're going to start with first just doing the technique on that. Oh my gosh, what's the color? I like drawing a blank. Secret Sea. Gosh, I got to learn all these new colors. All right, so we're going to do that one I need right now, and this one. And I'm just going to put these aside so I don't confuse myself. Okay, so we're first going to emboss these. So this one, I'm going to be using the Soft Waves embossing folder, and this is a 3D one. And I will say for this technique, you do want to make sure, and I have to make sure I get to it here, have a container that has some little fuzzies in here. It's been sitting on the floor. Oh well. I have a little bit of some soap, a little bit of dish soap in here. Just a container of water, because you don't want the embossing paste drying on your folder for, it'll just be harder to clean up and stuff. So I just have that handy and ready to go. And then make sure you've got like a silicone mat. You can use and of course you need the embossing paste. And again, I'm going to be using the shimmery embossing paste. Again, you could use white, you could use any of your color paste that you want if you want to color it with ink refills. And then a spatula. I'm actually using, I found these on Amazon. It was like a whole packet of them, but it's like a silicone brush, I guess they call it. I mean, there's no bristles, but I found for this, because it was a little bit bigger spatula for me to kind of wipe it on the folder and stuff. So you want to have your pieces of cardstock. We've got our paste, a folder, and with the folder, you want to add the paste on the non-logo side. So I want the raised, when you feel the folder, this is the raised side. This is the debossed, where it kind of dips in, which is where the side of the logo. So we're putting the paste on the opposite. When you open up the folder, it's on the right side with the raised edge. And a little bit goes a long way. The first time I did this, I had way too much paste on here, and it smushed out all over. It was quite a mess. So it will happen, but just be aware that if you go a little too heavy on your paste, that it will squish out and go all over. So make sure you've got like a damp cloth, just so you can clean up your embossing machine. Again, so this is the white embossing. It already has that kind of glimmer to it. So I'm just going to pull up a little bit here, and I'm just placing this on my folder. And I'm just kind of keeping it more in the center, because as we put the cardstock on and run it through the machine, it'll squish out and spread. So I'm just kind of a little bit evenly kind of just putting this paste on here. Okay. And it looks like it would be really yummy to eat, but no, it's not. Okay. Then we're going to put our cardstock. You just either put it right on top, doesn't really matter. And then we'll close it. And then we're going to run it through the machine. And with the folders, you want to make sure that the edge goes through the machine first, not the open side. You want to have the edge go in first. So I'm going to try and, if I can fit this on my, I may have to zoom out here. Oops, sorry. Wrong way. There we go. All right, so I'm going to put this through. I'm just using my specialty plate because this is a 3D embossing folder. Let's see if I squish out. Yeah, so I got a little bit of squishage. Is that a word? And then see how it comes out. So it does squish it out. So I'll just wipe that up and reuse it. All right, so now when we take this out, so I've got a little bit where it missed it on there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in. I'm going to put a little bit, we're going to take this, over here. I'm just putting it, the stuff that's on my machine, I'm putting it back on the folder because I want to put a little bit more on there. So I could have done a little bit more. It's like this trial and error. That's all it is. Okay, so now I want to just real quick, I'm just trying to align where my folder was. Okay, that looks good. All right, I'm going to run this through one more time. Wipe off some of this excess here. Like I said, always have your cloth just handy. All right, let's try this one more time. The next time when I do, I'll put a little bit more on. it's all covered. All right, so now we've got, and that'll dry, so it won't look so white. So that's why we wanted to do this part first. All right, so we're going to set that aside, let that dry. And then when we do our second one here, I just need to clean up some of my folder. And I'm just using, I got these off of Amazon. They're just like a little chamois that you can use. All right, let's do one more on that other piece. So again, we're putting the glitter on, or not the glitter, but the paste on the non-logo side. So it's that raised edge. Okay, we're going to do a little bit more this time. So this is a good technique to use up your paste. Okay, let's see. Because my card will be going, let's see, I want my waves. Yeah, I need to go this way. Should be enough. I'm going to put a little bit more up here because it squishes downward. So and like I said, you know, if you don't have enough, you can always just put it back in again, like how I did it. Okay, let's actually move some of this down. Okay. All right, so our waves are going this way. And let's go ahead and plop that in. Give her a close, and we'll run it through again. Spine first. Back and forth just a little bit here just to make sure I'm getting that coverage. And then again, I just take whatever's on here and put it back in my jar. I'm just going to put this in my soapy dish. It's on the floor. All right, let's see how this turned out. Cool. Oops. Excellent. Pretty. Cool. All right, so we're going to let that dry. And then I'm going to clean this up really quick, so I'm just going to pause this. Okay, so now we've got that all cleaned up. All right, so now we're going to go on and do our, I'll show you the fault line technique itself for the tearing. So we're going to start with the portrait one first. So this is where your tearing pieces were going to be 2 3/4 by 4. And again, you can use a combination of designer series paper, cardstock. The two-tone cardstock works well, but you just need 2 pieces. And when you go to tear, you want to think, what do you want on the top? Because again, as you tear, especially with like the pattern paper and the two-tone cardstock, you will get to see that white core at, you know, the white core center. Our colored cardstock is colored all the way through, so you won't see that, but you will see a nice frayed edge. So depending what kind of look you're going for, make sure whatever you want is your main, that's going to be on the top when you're tearing. Okay, so this one, I'm doing that Country Woods, and then I've got the cloud cover cardstock, and I want this to be the focal point. So I'm going to put both pieces together, and we're going to tear them from the top down, and you always tear towards yourself. Now, if you have a vintage tearing edge ruler from Stampin' Up, you can use that if you don't like to tear by hand. Again, this you would just lay down, and I think you get something similar to this on Amazon. But again, here you would put both pieces together, and I like to tear kind of at a diagonal, so you could put this down, and then I always just kind of, because you're tearing through two pieces of cardstock, then I would just tear, you would just tear towards yourself. So if you have one of those rulers, you can do that, but I prefer to tear my stuff by hand. And again, I kind of, you want to have, you don't want to go too narrow, because then your base of your card is going to show through. So I kind of go about 1 inch, you know, from that left-hand corner, and then I'm going to tear towards myself. And as I'm tearing, I'm keeping my index finger behind the cardstock, and I'm guiding all the way down just to give it support. So I'm just going to tear both pieces. And again, I want to tear kind of like a jagged edge, because again, this is like a fault line. It's kind of nothing, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's supposed to be that rustic, you know, crack. It's falling apart, so you can kind of tear, you know, do a little, you know, back and forth as you're tearing. And again, don't tear down to the corner, because again, your card base then would show through. So again, leave a little bit. This is probably like a 1/2 inch, about 3/4 of an inch is what I'm kind of leaving there. All right, so now this becomes your bottom, and this becomes your top. Dun, 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 super easy. Now you can, like I did on some of these, you can flip it. So again, if I wanted my look to be what I call the Pac-Man, you can do it that way too. And then you would have different patterns showing. So either way is totally fine. But I want to keep both of mine with that stripes showing. So as you notice, here you can kind of see the white torn edge. And then here on the cardstock, you see more of that frayed edge. Now on this one, that frayed, it would be on the back side. So here, this is where I would, you know, do a little bit more distressing and stuff with it, which I'll show you how to do and stuff too. But anyway, so that's the tearing part. So keep those pieces here. Now we're going to take that card base. So again, I'm doing the portrait one. So this is a 4 1/4 by 11. And I'm going to take that 4x4 cardstock that we did the embossing paste on. So this was the Secret Sky cardstock, and I did it was that shimmery embossing paste. So it's still a little damp. I tried to dry it, but as it dries, this kind of will, but it kind of looks like clouds, so I'm happy with it. All right, and then I'm going to do probably a little bit of, just because I've got some paste on here, I'm going to do some of my tear and tape just to hold this on a little bit better. You can also use your liquid glue. Yeah, so this is 4x4. Whoops. Okay, so I'm going to put this in the center. And again, because this was 4x4, I'm going to have a little bit of that quarter edge showing on the left and right side. that. That's on. And then I'm going to start with my top pieces first. So before I assemble these, I want to distress them a little bit more to kind of give that worn paper look. And so what I found was easiest was to actually take, you know, some water in a spray bottle and kind of just wet your cardstock. This was just easier. So I'm turning it over and I'm just kind of misting it with with water. And then that way it's giving the paper a little bit more move. It's easier to move. And I'm just kind of curling the edges with my fingers, just kind of pulling it up a little bit. So again, you can kind of mist it. Do a little bit on the top here. And I'm just sitting with my fingers and just curling those edges so it's curling towards me, just to give it that worn old paper look. Like I said, it was easier to do this when the paper's a little damp. So now you've got that kind of rolled edge, rolling waves. Now, same thing with the Designer Series paper. You can do the same thing. You don't need to make it as wet. Again, I like to work from the back side. So I'm just kind of misting it really quick here. And again, just working. So this is the top side. I'm just bringing those edges and I'm rolling the edges towards me. And then I just kind of sit here and I, you know, pinch it a little bit just to get the shape, the look I want. All right, so then there's that rolled edge kind of look. So again, that will then get attached onto that other one. And then this is your, going back to your card base. So I always just do a spot check because I want to make sure that, you know, this is I'm covering up this part. Basically is what I'm trying to say. So that looks good, that looks good. I may need to trim a little bit off my cloud cover. It might have been a little bit longer than my pattern paper. Okay, so then depending on how much, you know, blue you want showing, you can adjust it a little bit, you know, before you glue it down. So I've got like, what is that, about 1/8 of an inch kind of, I think is what I want. Okay. So then I just kind of keep these pieces together. And you can either just tape them like this. Sometimes I just find it's easier to do it this way initially, just to hold them together where I want my pieces to be. And I'm going to trim this now before I put it down because my glue is a little bit longer. Okay. So now I got my two pieces kind of held together. And then I can go in and add glue and stuff here. But I just found it was easier if you just kind of on the back side, temporarily, you know, not temporarily, but I just put one piece of tape just to kind of hold it in place as you're futzing around with it. Okay, so now I am going to do my liquid glue for the rest of this. And you're just going to layer that on so you've got that 1/4 of an inch on your top and your sides. You're covering up your centerpiece. And then here again, I just kind of play with my paper. So that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and just add some glue up here just to hold this pattern paper down now. And then once you have it like kind of where you like it, you can then go back with your liquid glue. So I'm just going to uncurl it here, and I'm just throwing in a little bit of glue re-roll it, pinch it, and then that way it's going to stay in place. So again, I'm just kind of rolling, pinching, smushing it, just so you get however that rustic look that you want. Okay, and then again here, again, I'm just kind of re-rolling this a little bit, pinching it. Now you don't have to do the rolling, you can just leave it with the torn look. That is perfectly fine too, but I just think it looks a little bit more rustic here. Old weathered look. Yeah, so then again, it's just kind of pinching, smushing, rolling. There. Now you've got that distressed fault line look. All right, now we're going to do the bottom half. So again, this was, you know, that frayed edge is on the back side. So I'm going to do the same thing where I just mist the back side with water. Just, it's a little bit easier to then start rolling towards yourself. Same thing with the Designer Series paper. Just give it a quick mist and then just start rolling. Boy, my blue must not have been. Oh yeah, it was a little bit longer than 4, that's why. So I'll have to trim this one again too. So I think I may trim this way. Just do that now. There we go. All right, so then this is where, again, I just kind of spot check, make sure this part isn't too short because I want to be able to cover up that blue, so that looks good. So again, just to keep this held in place while I'm futzing around, this is where you want to put your adhesive. You know, because this is damp, I don't want to use a tape runner because it'll tear the cardstock. So I'm just using my tear and tape to hold those two pieces together. That is still covering that up. Okay, so that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this and then use my liquid glue. Like I said, see, that tear and tape is just holding those two pieces together. It just makes it a little bit easier to manage as you're putzing around. And then again, you're just having that 1/4 inch border on the side and on the bottom showing. And then again, I just kind of roll this. Just stress this a little bit more. And then I'll just add some liquid glue just to keep those curled pieces in place. Again, just kind of pinching and smushing. However look you want. I mean, there's not really a... And again, if a piece is too big, you know, if you don't like, you know, you can tear off a little bit of it if it's too much bulk. Because this is damp, it's easier to work with. Then you really get that kind of fuzzy look, which is kind of cool looking. All right, so we'll go ahead and just glue that down. Just to hold that in place. And there, that is that fault line technique. And then with the embossing paste on that folder. So I got a little heavy-handed, but compared to my original one, but I kind of like it because it does look a little bit more like clouds and stuff. So, so that, let's go ahead and do our sailboat now. Throw that in there. So for the sailboat, get some of this. Goodness, I got glitter everywhere. Okay, so this is, again, the hybrid embossing folder. So you take your folder and the die, and on the Stampin' Up! Logo side, or wait, no, I gotta stop and think. No, it is. Hold on, I always gotta stop and think here. No, it is the opposite side that I need to. Wait a minute. There we go. Yeah, it's the logo side. So you have your die with the cut edge face up, and it kind of locks in place. So you kind of, if you can't move it, it feels like, you know, it's in place. You'll then put your cardstock on top of it. I'm going to go ahead and do my stamping first. Now you can do it a couple different ways. I sometimes, well, I've done it where I've stamped it first and then kind of line up the image and run it through together, or I've just die cut it originally or first and then I stamp it. Either way, I mean, it just depends on what you feel like doing, but I think we'll do this one where I'll actually stamp first and then put it on there. Okay, so this one we've got the outline image. There's an image for the stripes on the sailboat, and then the base part of the boat, which I think I need to get my smoky slate. And then I'm going to use two of our new in colors that are coming out on May 6th. We're going to do Strawberry Slush and Secret Sea. So we'll do Secret Sea for the sailboat. And I will tell, when you get like new stamp sets, especially the photopolymer, I always take like an eraser and just kind of gently sand, just to kind of get rid of some of that factory finish, you know, from it. And it does kind of help then ink your stamp when you go to ink it. It does help with the image sometimes, so it's not blotchy looking. But I've been stamping with this one, so it's already kind of broken in. All right, and then we're going to go ahead, and this is just on our basic white. Beautiful. This is just a great color. You know, it's not black. You know, it's not blue. It's Secret Sea. It's just a beautiful, great neutral color to have in your collection. All right, and then we're going to do the Strawberry Slush for the sailboat stripes. And this, you're just kind of, I want to stamp this on scratch paper and see how this is looking here. Hold on. Okay, here I'm fine. Oops. There we go. And there we go. And then for the boat part, I'm going to do Smoky Slate. Perfect. of it. Okay, then I'm going to take some low-tack tape. Because now basically you need to line up. So I've got my logo side, the die is face up. You then just basically have to kind of eyeball it. And this is where I feel like this is the harder way. That's why I like die cutting it first and then stamping on top of it. But I wanted to show you this is a way you can do it too. I'm just trying to make sure I'm lined up where I need to be. Making sure that's locked in place. And then I'm just going to use this just to hold it while I die cut it. And again, spine first when you do this. Zoom out a little bit here. Put it in. And I've done it either way. It doesn't, I mean, it cuts, it works both ways. Doesn't matter which side you have facing up. Both of them work. Oh, and I got a little bit, still a little bit of embossing paste in my, it must be on my machine. Oh, it is. I see it now. Oh, I'll have to wipe that off later before that dries. Actually, I better do it now before I forget. Thought I had gotten it all. Yeah, so that's one thing when you do their embossing paste with your machine, do a spot check on your machine just to make sure you got all the paste out of there. Okay, that looks good. Okay. So now you got your sailboat cut out. And then again, it gives it a little bit, I don't know if you can see it on the camera. There's a little bit of the raised, you know, there's some texture from it being embossed too. All right, so then the other way, this is what I normally do, is I just, oh, do I have one? Let me grab some scratch paper here. I a lot of times just do, I die cut it first, so I'm just putting this on the logo side, locking it in place, putting the cardstock on top. Ooh, is that going to fit? Just barely. And then I'll run it through the machine. Sorry, I'm off screen, but I'm going to lug that thing over there again. And then I'll stamp it on top. So now there you can kind of see the more of the emboss, so we'll stamp that. The other one, just so we get that going. I just think that way is easier, but it's how, whatever, you know, works for you, basically. So we'll do this really quick. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see here. My stamps again. So on this one, yeah, I do have both pieces here. So now I'm just kind of lining it up. Top. Secret C. And if you have your old Stamparatus or another stamping platform, you could use that too to do this as well. The stamping part. Okay. And then the stripes in Strawberry Slush. Looks like I got a little low on my, I'm going to redo my boat here really quick. Stamped a little low on it. I don't know why I did that first. I should have do the outline first, not the inside image. Okay, so there's that. Okay, let me now get back to the card. Let's see, here's our pieces. Now we're going to take our sailboat, and I do like to double layer my boat. So this is one that I had cut out previously, just to give it a little bit more stability. So I'm just double layering it. Okay, and then we want to add on our inside, I forgot to do this while I had the die cutting machine. So let me get that. And I want to get my already got some pieces already die cut out, so I'm just going to grab some of these for, oh, there's Miss Ezera upstairs. She's ready to play. She's not in the stamp room with me today. She's upstairs because my mom is here, so she's up with Grandma. All right, maybe we'll just do the white. This will be for the inside of my card, just to decorate it. Yeah, something like that. Okay. So on the die, this is for my inside of my cardstock because I want to have my little birds. So I'm actually going to take what I'm putting on the inside. So this is the little bird die. I want to just die cut these so that I get my little birds. So I'm going to do that really quick here. I can get them out. There's one. These are the little itty bitty dies. It's like the little itty bitty stamp set. Oh my gosh, so easy to lose on your desk. All right, so now I got those die cut, and then my card. You know, that's what I used for the inside, because then you'll be able to see the gray showing through. So it's kind of fun. So you can, you know, decorate the inside of your card as well. So again, this is that cloud cover, new in color. And then my card base was smoky slate. So put this on. And then I had already, so these are from, when you do the folder, you're getting, you know, this entire image embossed. So you've got the waves and the sailboat and the clouds. So then these dies is what I used to cut out these pieces. So they still have a little bit of that texture. So then you can do like your little white caps. So again, I did Secret Sea, and then this is just basic white. And this is just totally optional. I just like decorating the inside of my cards here. Okay, and I'll just put this on. And then my sailboat. So what's nice in the die set, you get these clouds, you get a the die cut that cuts out the stamped image, and then these two make the small sailboat, and then these make the larger sailboat. So this is from the small sailboat, and I just did some craft. It was some of our retired, we had like a kind of more of a thicker craft paper a few years ago. It was like a little 6x6 pack, and I still have a few scraps left. So that's where this came from. So glue that down. And then this is the other one, and I just did basic white for my sails. So now your inside is decorated. And then the outside, because we've got some bulk here, what I tend to do, depending on, yeah, I'm gonna do dimensionals, and then I'll just glue here. Just because sometimes it's a little bit easier to use the dimensionals, so. Using up the last of my dimensionals here. So we're gonna run. Yeah, I think I will use another one right there. Take these off. And then I just add a little bit of glue at the tip here, because that's what's being held on to that torn paper. All right, and then we'll add our, and I like to, of course, kind of distress my sun a little bit. So this is that Darling Duckling, and I'm just going to take the ink. I always tap off just to get most of the ink so you don't get the big blotch. I'm going to start on the edge and just darken my circle here just to give it a little bit of texture. And then you can also just mist this very slowly with water. Take like a little textured towel, just dry it off. And then as it dries, it'll kind of give it, it'll get a little bit of a splattered look to it. Totally optional. It's just Linda being Linda and all her tiny little details. That's why it takes me 2 hours to make a card. No. And then I'm just going to put a block on here just to hold that in place a little bit, because it's on that glitter textured cardstock, so I just want to make sure it's being held in place. And then the tiny, tiny bird stamps, or die cuts here, we're just going to put some glue. This is where I always tell people, I'm like, get some tweezers. It makes life so much easier working with die cuts. folder. Oops. Again, this is where I probably need the block on here. Just to hold that in place for a little bit. And then the last thing I want to stamp on here is my saying from the set. So this is going to be ahoy. I'm going to do that in Secret C. So on this one, do I want kind of tight down here? I think I may stamp it up here on the top this time just because I don't have as much space as I did on my original one. Perfect. And that is that fault line technique with the embossing paste, using your folders too. So really fun. So the other one, let me just real quick show you. It's going to be the landscape way. And instead of doing the embossing paste, this is where I just took, you know, any of our this is the ombre glimmer paper that is online. It's an online exclusive. So I've already just ran it through that, oh my gosh, what's the wave folder? Soft waves. And then I'm just taking a nail file. This is just, I got like a bunch of these off of Amazon. So they were like $4 for like 12 of them or something. And I'm just going to sand, kind of buff. So this again is that raised edge. So you're sanding a little bit off, so you see a little bit of white. I don't know if the camera really picks that up, but just gives it a little bit of texture, giving that two-tone look. And again, it's just sanding the raised edge. Okay, that looks good. All right, so just wipe that off, get all that dust. So like on your little bit like darker glimmer papers, it really shows up when you do this technique with the buffing. But this is a fairly light one. All right, so this one is the landscape one. So again, this is now my cardstock was just 5.5 by 8.5, folded in half. And this is a retiring in color pebbled path. I'm gonna miss this color. I really, really liked this color. That and wild wheat. I don't know why. That was a color that I didn't like at first, but oh my gosh, I wound up using it a ton. All right, so this is going to be my centerpiece now. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. So this centerpiece, that was going to be the 2 3/4 by 5 1/4 is what this piece was. Again, just kind of putting this in the center, making sure you've got that border, little 1/4 inch border going on the left and right side. Just make sure this is adhered down well. All right, now our pieces for tearing for the landscape version. Again, 2 pieces. These are 3 by 5 1/4. So I'm doing the Country Woods, and then this is that 2-tone cardstock. It's the Pool Party one, so one side is lighter and the other side is darker. So when I go to tear this, I want to see the lighter side, so I'm going to have the darker side face up, and then I want my pattern paper, because on this one when I go to do it, I'm going to flip and have this be on the bottom, instead of keeping both them face up. So again, still on the landscape, I like to start, you know, putting them both together. So I want this one on top. I want the darker of the two on the face up. And again, we're going to start from the corner and tear down at a diagonal. And again, I start knowing that this has to fit so it covers that part. Because if you start too narrow, then again, your cardstock is going to show. So start, like I said, about, you know, what is this, an inch? Yeah, it's about an inch. So an inch down. And we got both of them together, and you just start tearing. And as you're tearing, I'm guiding my index finger right behind. And I'm just going to tearing at a diagonal, not going down to the corner, because again, that cardstock would show. So again, making sure you've got about an inch. Again, a thumb, you know, the base of your thumbnail, that would be where you want to keep that width on the bottom. Okay. So now this becomes our top. And again, I may tear this, I may shift this, I may make it a little bit narrower, so I may trim some of that off. And then I'm going to flip this. So now see how that torn, I like seeing that torn. I want to see the white on here. Yeah, so these I will kind of trim. So again, on some of this, especially on the land, because I just started doing the landscape one, you can, you know, keep the dimension I gave you, which was the 3 inches wide. But you might want to do, now I'm thinking I might want to do 2 3/4. So I'm just going to take a little bit off. Let's see here. I'm just kind of checking eyes. I want a little bit off. That's a little too long. Or you can just kind of keep tearing it too. You can do that as well. On there. Now when I do, yeah, I think I may come down a little bit more. So again, but I don't want to take too much off. So I'm going to tear more up here. Just getting this a little bit narrower. But then I'm not going to tear down to that corner. I'm not going to go all the way down there. And again, same thing here. I'm going to tear a little bit more up on this section. This is where it's just kind of trial and error when you're doing it. So. And that'll go there. And I'll do the same thing here, yeah, because I want a little bit more off. Better to have too much than not enough. And again, I'm going to take a little bit more off of this side. Just a little bit more. It's really like how much of this you want showing is basically what I'm doing here. Because I didn't want it completely covered up. All right, that's better. Okay. Now let's go ahead and start gluing these together. Again, kind of. Now this one I'm not going to, I kind of want to see, I'm not going to curl the edges on this one. Just because I want this white kind of frayed look showing through. So again, I just like to have that. Now here, because my paper isn't wet, I can go ahead and put some adhesive down just to hold these pieces together a little bit better while I'm futzing around. But again, as I'm tearing, I'm always having my finger kind of right behind just to help as that guide. Okay, now I can go ahead and glue this down. again, here you can go lift this up. And then you can just apply some more glue to hold it in place a little bit better. And then same thing here, just add a little bit of glue underneath this piece, just to hold it in place. And again, if you want to run your fingernail, or you can take from your pick tool the little putty part and kind of just give this a, just to texturize it a little bit. All right, so now here, this is where, again, where it was torn this way, but we're going to flip it around. We're going to use the back side because I want to see now the blue. So again, we're getting more of that, what I call the little Pac-Man, the Pac-Man look on it. So if you have these positioned kind of where you want them, let me tear just a little bit more off here. Hold that in place with the adhesive. That looks good. Okay, now I can go ahead and add the rest of my adhesive or glue, whatever you got handy. Again, just hold this in place a little bit better, and then add some glue underneath just to hold that down. And then again on this, that one I think I taped, yeah, that one I taped down, so it's good. And then again, if you want to run your fingernail or take like your little putty tool just to give a little bit of movement to it. And again, if you wanted to kind of, it's just harder to do when this isn't damp, but you can kind of curl and roll it there too. All right, so that is then the landscape part of it, and also just showing you how with the glimmer paper, oh, I'm just looking for, because I thought I had this here. I had one I already assembled. I don't have it stamped. That's okay, we'll do it really quick here. So we'll do that one. And then I need, we'll do the sun ray. Might do that one. Okay, so we'll do this really quick. Get these stamped. Okay, so on this one, I need my, I was going to do petal pink, and I'll do a little bit of the pebbled path, or sorry, petal pink, pebble path, can't talk. And then I think I'll do, we'll do the coastal. I think we'll do this in this. All right, so my sailboat itself is going to be in the pebbled path. We'll change it up. On my original one here, I did Misty Moonlight, but I think I'm going to change it and do this one as pebbled path. So again, we'll just, so this has already been die cut and embossed. Pebbled pink, or petal pink. goes Ezra. It must be, oh, yep, about time for her late morning walk. Yeah, we've had crazy weather. It was super nice the other day, and then it rained, and then it was super nice again. So I was like, oh, I can't even know what to wear every day. In the morning, it's still freezing cold, and then the afternoon, it's nice and sunny, and then we go back to the cold. So it's like, oh my gosh, constantly changing all the time. All right, so that's Pebble Path. The pebble, I think for my boat, then maybe I will do this in. Maybe I'll do that in Coastal Cabana. We can have a green boat, right? We'll have a green boat. All right, and then this, we'll just go ahead and attach on. Again, I'm just going to use some dimensionals. Ah, I finished the sheet. Yay. Okay. All right. Got my boat. And then I'm just going to add, this is out of the Spotlight on Nature dies. I just die cut this in petal pink. This will be my little sun. And then we'll add a few gems. Let's see here. What do I have? I'll just do some of these. Do a few of these. Oh no, I'm losing gems. I'll always find it on my desk somewhere, or else it's on my slipper or something. They go flying off. Right. I think we'll just see how that shows. Oh yeah, that'll be good. All right, so let's do one here, one here. All right. Yeah, sorry, my mom's upstairs, so if you hear in the background. We have company this weekend for Easter. All right, that is your two layouts for that fault line technique, the landscape, the portrait, and then also showing you how to use your embossing folders and sanding your paper, and then also using that embossing paste that we're all collecting that we have in our stash. So anyway, thanks for joining me. Sorry for the little bit long video today. But anyway, have a happy Easter wherever you are. Happy spring, and I will stamp again with you soon. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate the support. Like and subscribe if you have not done so, and then leave me a comment if there is some other techniques or fun folds that you want me to share and show you how to do. I take the challenge. So anyway, thanks again for watching. We appreciate the support. Bye-bye.